All right, let's dive in. We're tackling Admiral McRaven's Make Your Bed today.
Oh, this is a good one.
But before you think this is just about chores, it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's about life.
It's about life, right? We're going to be breaking down this awesome YouTube video with excerpts from the audiobook.
Oh.
And we're pulling out, those nuggets of
Those
wisdom.
little golden nuggets.
Yes, that we can all use to kind of level up our lives.
Yeah. McRaven uses his Navy SEAL background to, illuminate these broader life lessons.
It's true.
You know what I mean? We're not just talking about tidying up.
Yeah.
We're talking about discipline, resilience, harnessing the power of small actions.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so cool about this book. Okay, so let's start with that seemingly mundane task of making your bed.
Yeah.
He really hammers this home as the first thing to do every day.
Like the first thing.
Right. And he ties it to his experiences in SEAL training on a submarine, even recovering from a parachute accident.
It's like a keystone habit for him.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think it's not just about being tidy, right?
Yeah.
It's about the psychology of starting your day with a win,
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Starting your day with a win.
no matter how small.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're setting a positive tone.
Yes.
You're priming your mind for accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like telling yourself, I'm in control, even if the rest of the day throws curveballs.
That resonates with me so much because it's like you're checking off that first to-do list item and it's like, all right, momentum builder.
Momentum.
But the book dives deeper than just personal discipline. McRaven has this great story about a 10-foot rubber raft in SEAL training,
Oh, yeah.
really highlighting that we are stronger together.
Together. We are stronger together.
No one succeeds solo.
Yeah. And this story really drives home the point about interdependence,
Oh, yeah.
which, by the way, is backed by tons of research in organizational psychology.
That's cool.
Yeah. We thrive in groups, we achieve more collaboratively, and we're definitely more resilient when we have each other's backs.
It's true.
McRaven talks about how his teammates literally kept him afloat on his toughest days. They would paddle harder, they'd share their rations,
Wow.
and, he returned the favor when it was their turn to struggle.
So it's like
It wasn't just about the muscle.
yeah.
It was about the mutual support, building a bond that, went beyond the task itself.
Beautiful. And that idea of teamwork links directly to McRaven's recovery from that parachute accident. He was seriously injured. Sounds like he was in a really dark place.
Physically and mentally, yeah.
Yeah.
What's striking is how he credits his support network, his wife, his friends, even his boss, for, helping him through that incredibly tough time.
Wow.
Their belief in him was crucial to his recovery.
Wow.
This
Yeah.
underscores a key principle. We need our people,
We need our people.
our tribe, to
Yeah.
help us weather those storms and remind us of our strength when we can't see it ourselves.
I love that. We all need a hand to pull us up sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, now this next lesson is a real wake-up call. McRaven shares a time when he totally misjudged someone based on appearances.
Oh, totally.
He initially underestimated Tom Norris in SEAL training because of his physique.
Yeah, his build. He thought Norris wasn't built for, the demands of the program.
Right, he's like, this guy's too slight to make it through this grueling training.
But here's the kicker.
Oh, boy.
Norris goes on to become a SEAL Medal of Honor recipient.
No way.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He was incredibly brave, resourceful, rescued downed airmen behind enemy lines, even survived being shot in the face. Talk about grit.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
McRaven uses this story to teach us a crucial lesson. Never underestimate people.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, real strength is often hidden, and determination can overcome any perceived limitations.
That's a really great point. It's a reminder to look beyond the surface and recognize that potential that someone might be hiding. Okay, now for a lesson that's both funny and frustrating, the sugar cookie punishment in SEAL training.
Ah, the infamous sugar cookie.
I know. He describes jumping into the freezing surf and then rolling around in the sand until he's coated head to toe.
Oh, I can feel it.
I know, and the worst part is it often seemed like a completely random punishment.
Yeah, but the randomness is actually the point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it simulates the inherent unfairness we'll encounter in life.
Yeah.
Bad stuff happens, sometimes with no explanation.
It's true.
McRaven's not saying life's unfair, deal with it. He's
Right.
saying, train your mind to handle the curveballs.
Okay.
So the sugar cookie is about building that mental agility to adapt and maintain composure when things feel unjust.
You got to roll with the punches.
Exactly. And this is a crucial skill, especially for leaders under pressure.
It's like you're building those mental muscles to weather any storm, even if you don't know why it's happening.
Exactly.
And to further illustrate life's unpredictability, McRaven shares the story of Lieutenant Philip Martin.
Yeah.
Moy. This guy was an exceptional SEAL officer, phenomenal athlete, crushed triathlons,
Triathlon. Wow.
and then a horrific bicycle accident left him paralyzed from the waist down. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. You'd think that would be the end of his story.
Yeah, you would think.
But Moy does something incredible. He chooses not to be defined by this tragedy.
Wow.
And instead, he focuses on what he can control.
Yes.
He becomes an accomplished painter, a devoted father, and he even founds the Super Frog Triathlon held annually in Coronado.
Amazing.
It's like this testament to the human spirit's ability to find meaning even in the face of unimaginable hardship.
Yeah. Moy's story is a powerful reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond to life's curveballs.
It's true. We always have a choice. Okay, so we talked about the sugar cookie.
Yeah.
But SEAL training had another fun little tradition called the circus.
Oh, the circus, extra calisthenics, and let's call it motivational pressure for those who didn't meet the standard.
It was brutal.
It was designed to be brutal.
McRaven and his swim buddy, Mark Thomas, found themselves on that circus list quite a bit, especially after struggling during a long swim.
Oh, yeah. The instructors didn't think they had what it took. Countless push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and you guessed it, flutter kicks.
Flutter kicks. Oh, man.
Sounds exhausting.
It was. But McRaven and Thomas, they refused to quit.
Wow.
They had pushed through the pain, the fatigue, and as they kept enduring the circus, something interesting happened.
Did they get better?
They got better. The circus, intended as punishment, became their training montage.
Wow.
The swims got faster, they moved up the ranks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this highlights a fundamental truth: failure can be the best teacher.
I like that.
Yeah, it exposes weaknesses, forces adaptation and growth.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Precisely. We all have our circuses in life.
We do.
Those moments when we fall short, those setbacks and challenges.
Yeah.
The question is, how do we respond?
Mm-hmm.
Do we give up, or do we use them as fuel to improve and become more resilient?
That's the question. It's about embracing the struggle, knowing that on the other side is a stronger version of ourselves. So the next time you're feeling discouraged, remember McRaven and Thomas sweating it out in the circus and emerging stronger.
Love it.
Okay, now this next story is about facing your fears head on. Literally.
Right.
McRaven describes a night swim in SEAL training
Oh, yeah.
where he and his swim buddy had to conquer their fear of sharks.
Oh, my gosh. In the open ocean, in total darkness, knowing that great whites were lurking beneath them.
Talk about nightmare fuel.
Right. It was a true test of their courage. McRaven contrasts this with the story of Saddam Hussein,
Okay.
and he draws this parallel between sharks and bullies.
Interesting.
They both prey on fear.
Okay.
You show fear, they'll strike. But you stand your ground, you face your fear with courage and determination, and you can overcome even the most daunting challenges.
So it's about recognizing that fear is normal, but it doesn't have to paralyze us.
Yes.
We can choose to act in spite of it.
You got it.
Speaking of acting under pressure, McRaven shares a really gripping account of a hostage rescue mission in Iraq.
Oh, wow.
The stakes could not have been higher. To save the hostages' lives, they had to land 3 Black Hawk helicopters inside a small, walled compound in broad daylight.
Sounds incredibly risky.
It was.
Right.
There was a very real possibility of things going sideways.
Casualty.
Of casualties, yeah.
Yeah.
McRaven had to weigh those risks and make a tough call knowing that lives were in his hands.
That's heavy.
And this is where all those circuses and facing those fears and SEAL training really paid off.
Right. He had learned to operate under immense pressure, to make difficult decisions, even when facing potential failure.
It's true. This experience taught him that true leadership often involves taking calculated risks.
Calculated risks.
Even when uncomfortable.
Especially when uncomfortable.
It's about having the courage to act, even when the outcome is uncertain.
Love it.
There's another layer to this story I find fascinating.
Okay.
The helicopter pilots, their skill and bravery were incredible. They had to maneuver these massive aircraft into this tiny space with virtually no margin for error. And they did it knowing they were putting themselves in harm's way to save others.
Yeah. This speaks volumes about the selflessness and dedication of those in high-risk professions. You know, they put their lives on the line for the greater good.
It's true.
And it underscores the importance of trust, of having faith in your team, believing in those around you.
It's a perfect example of teamwork and shared sacrifice in action. I'm curious, what stands out to you so far?
What stands out to me
Hmm.
I think it's this recurring theme of resilience.
Okay.
McRaven shows us time and again how crucial it is to bounce back from setbacks.
Mm.
That ability to keep going, even when you want to quit, is essential to success, no matter what you're striving for.
Totally agree. It's not about avoiding failure. It's
Sure.
about learning from it and using it to propel yourself forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ready for another powerful image from the book? McRaven talks about a bell at the start of SEAL training.
Ah, the bell of surrender.
If a trainee wanted to quit, all they had to do was ring it 3
3
times,
times?
and they were free from the pain and hardship.
Freedom.
Right. But he stresses that quitting, while tempting, often leads to regret.
Oh, yeah.
It's a decision that can linger for years.
For years.
And he then shares a story that perfectly embodies this refusal to quit. The story of Ranger Adam Bates.
Adam Bates.
This guy was a young soldier who lost both legs in Afghanistan when he stepped on a mine.
Oh, my gosh.
Despite this devastating injury, he remained incredibly positive and determined.
Imagine the strength and resilience that takes.
I know, it's unbelievable. And when McRaven visited him in the hospital,
Yeah.
Bates was unable to speak due to his injuries. So
Yeah.
he signed to him, "I will be okay."
No.
Chills.
Powerful message.
Powerful. And he lived those words. Bates recovered,
Wow.
even walked again with prosthetics.
Oh, my God.
He refused to let this tragedy define him. He refused to ring the bell.
He refused to ring the bell.
Adam Bates is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. His story reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable hardship, we can choose hope, choose resilience, and keep fighting for our dreams.
Absolutely. So, what's your bell in life?
Oh,
Yeah, what tempts you to quit when things get tough?
that's a really good question for all of us to ask ourselves.
Yeah, we all have those bells, those moments when giving up seems easier than pushing forward.
It's true.
Recognizing them and finding the strength to resist is key to living a fulfilling life.
This deep dive has been about so much more than just making your bed.
Yeah.
It's about developing the habits and the mindset to thrive in the face of adversity, achieve our goals, and become our best selves.
It's a reminder that our daily choices, how we approach challenges, and the people we surround ourselves with
Yeah,
ultimately shape the course of our lives.
it's true. And on that note, we'll be right back to uncover even more of McRaven's wisdom. Don't go anywhere.
McRaven doesn't shy away from sharing his failures. And he uses his experience of being fired as a SEAL squadron commander
Wow.
to teach a valuable lesson about learning from setbacks.
That must have been devastating. Being relieved of command like that, you'd think it'd be a career ender.
Yeah, but McRaven actually frames it as like a turning point.
Really?
Yeah, he talks about how initially he felt utterly defeated. He could sense the whispers and doubts from his fellow SEALs.
Oh, man.
And those whispers probably echoed the doubts in his own head.
It's true.
But instead of giving in, he used that experience as fuel.
Wow.
Yeah. He was determined to prove himself, not just to others, but to himself as well.
So he essentially found himself thrown back into the circus of life.
Exactly. But this time, he was ready. Armed with the lessons learned from his failures, he was assigned to lead a SEAL platoon overseas.
Okay.
Yeah, he focused on outworking everyone, leading by example, and relentlessly seeking improvement.
And those efforts paid off.
They did. He eventually regained the respect of his men and went on to command a SEAL team of his own, eventually even leading all the SEALs on the West Coast.
That's incredible.
It's like the Japanese concept of kintsugi, where breaking pottery is repaired with gold, highlighting the cracks and imperfections as part of its beauty and history. McRaven's story shows us that setbacks don't have to define us.
No.
They can be opportunities for growth, for refining our character and abilities, and for emerging, stronger and wiser.
It's a powerful shift in perspective. It's not about erasing our mistakes,
Right.
but integrating them into our journey.
Exactly.
And McRaven goes on to talk about how that mindset, that willingness to learn and adapt, served him well while leading troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he makes a really insightful point about how, as a leader, you have to get comfortable with making tough decisions, even when the outcome is uncertain.
Yeah, that's a hallmark of effective leadership in any field, not just the military.
It's true.
McRaven talks about how every decision in those war zones, it carried immense weight.
Oh, yeah.
He knew lives were at stake. That failure was always a possibility. But he also recognized that inaction, being paralyzed by fear, was not an option.
Right, so it was about striking that balance.
Balance, yeah.
Calculated risk versus decisive action.
Exactly. And McRaven emphasizes that this applies to all areas of life.
Oh, yeah.
We all face those moments where we have to make difficult choices. Step outside our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Take risks if we want to achieve our goals.
Yeah.
He brings up the motto of the British Special Air Service, the SAS, who dares wins.
That motto perfectly captures that idea that success often demands we push our limits, embrace challenges, and be willing to stumble along the way.
Yeah, and McRaven makes it clear. It's not about recklessness, but about calculated risk-taking.
Right.
Having the courage to step outside those comfort zones and to trust in our abilities.
Yeah.
He argues that without that willingness to dare greatly, as he puts it, we'll never know what we're truly capable of.
It's about embracing the unknown and stepping boldly into those uncharted territories.
I love it.
And, that reminds me of McRaven's story about facing those sharks during that night swim and SEAL training.
Absolutely. That experience embodies the spirit of daring greatly.
They could have easily succumbed to their fear, but they chose to confront it head on. And in doing so, they expanded their perception of what they could handle. It's a powerful lesson for all of us. Fear is a part of life, but it doesn't have to dictate our actions. We can acknowledge our fears and then act in spite of them. That's where true courage resides.
Absolutely. And McRaven connects this idea of facing your fears to the concept of standing up to bullies. He points out that bullies like Saddam Hussein thrive on fear and intimidation.
It's like they can sense vulnerability and exploit it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
McRaven argues that the most effective way to handle a bully is to confront them directly, to refuse to be cowed by their intimidation tactics. He tells this fascinating story about how even after Hussein was captured and stripped of his authority, he still managed to intimidate the new Iraqi government leaders when brought face to face with them.
It's almost unbelievable how someone can project that much power even when they've lost everything.
It speaks to the insidious nature of fear.
Yeah.
How it can paralyze us and prevent us from acting in our own best interests.
It's true.
But McRaven contrasts Hussein's intimidation tactics with the courage of the American soldiers who captured him.
Yeah.
They refused to be intimidated, and they ultimately brought him down.
Wow.
It's a potent example of how courage can overcome fear.
It's a reminder that even the most formidable bullies can be challenged and overcome if we have the courage to stand our ground. Are you ready for another story about facing challenges head-on?
Always. What's McRaven got for us this time?
Well, he talks about this intense exercise in SEAL training, where they had to swim 2,000 meters underwater in complete darkness to plant a practice mine on a ship. And to make things even more challenging, they had to use this old, unreliable diving rig that was aptly nicknamed the Death Rig.
The Death Rig. That's not exactly a confidence booster.
I know, right? Not exactly inspiring.
Yeah.
But McRaven and his fellow trainees had to overcome their fear of this equipment and trust their training.
Trust their training, yeah.
And it sounds like the conditions themselves were treacherous.
Oh, I bet.
It was a night swim, visibility was terrible, and the fog was rolling in, making navigation even harder.
Oh, gosh.
But McRaven focuses on the idea that even in those darkest moments, even when fear is whispering in your ear, you have to find a way to complete the mission.
Complete the mission.
Yeah, he talks about how the instructors hammered home this point. That this ability to push through fear and doubt, get the job done no matter what, is what separates SEALs from everyone else.
It's about cultivating that unwavering determination, that grit, that allows you to persevere even in the most challenging circumstances.
And McRaven connects this idea to his experiences in the war zones, specifically to those solemn ramp ceremonies for fallen soldiers.
You're talking about those ceremonies where the flag-draped coffins are loaded onto planes to be flown home?
Yes, McRaven describes witnessing these ceremonies countless times.
Wow.
And he talks about how they represent both profound sorrow and the highest honor.
It's true.
It's a stark reminder of the sacrifices made by those who serve and the profound impact their loss has on their families, friends, and comrades.
Yeah, and he makes a poignant observation about how even in the face of such tragedy, people find a way to embody their best selves. The families who grieve with dignity, the soldiers who support each other, the communities who come together to honor the fallen. It's incredibly moving.
It speaks to the resilience of the human spirit.
It does.
It's about recognizing the value of service and sacrifice,
Yeah.
and choosing hope and resilience, even when surrounded by darkness.
And that's a message that transcends the battlefield.
Yes, it does.
We all experience loss and hardship in our lives.
We do.
McRaven's words remind us that we have the power to choose how we respond to those challenges, to find meaning in our experiences, and to offer support to one another during difficult times.
It reminds me of the story of General John Kelly,
General
a
Kelly,
Marine general whose son Robert was killed in Afghanistan.
the one who went on to serve in the Trump administration.
Yes, McRaven describes seeing General Kelly comforting families of fallen SEALs at Dover Air Force Base.
Oh, wow.
And what struck him was how Kelly, having experienced the unimaginable loss of his own son,
Right.
connected with those families on such a deep level.
It's like he understood their pain in a way that transcended words.
Exactly. And McRaven talks about how Kelly's presence, his words of comfort and hope, made a profound difference to those grieving families.
Wow.
Even in those moments of profound grief, there's still a flicker of hope.
Absolutely. Kelly's story, like Adam Bates's story, is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
It's about finding the strength to carry on,
Carry on, yeah.
to find meaning in tragedy, and to use our experiences to offer solace and support to others.
And that brings us back to McRaven's core message, the importance of never giving up.
He's adamant about that, isn't he? He says life is filled with challenges.
It is.
Those moments when quitting seems so much easier than continuing to push forward.
Right.
But he emphasizes that quitting never truly makes anything easier.
Yep.
It only leads to regret and that lingering feeling of what if.
What if, yeah.
He argues that we all have the potential for greatness within us.
We do.
But we have to be willing to fight for it, to push through those inevitable obstacles and hardships, and to never, ever give up on those dreams that light us up.
And he uses that powerful image of the bell in SEAL training to drive this point home.
Oh, yeah.
That bell that represents the easy way out, the allure of surrender when the going gets tough.
But McRaven urges us to remember that the true measure of our character lies in our ability to resist that temptation.
Resist it, yeah.
To keep going, even when we feel like throwing in the towel.
It's about recognizing those moments.
Yeah.
When we're tempted to ring that bell, to take the path of least resistance, and choosing instead to dig deep and tap into that inner strength.
It's about embracing the struggle.
Yeah.
Understanding that it's in those moments of adversity that we truly discover who we are and what we're made of.
It's about choosing to be the kind of person who never rings the bell.
And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What are the bells in your own life?
Oh, that's a good one.
What are those temptations to quit, to take the easy way out when things get tough? And how can you cultivate the strength to resist them, to keep striving, to never give up on those dreams that make your heart sing?
Those are powerful questions, and they're worth pondering.
They are.
We'll be back after a short break to explore those themes further and unearth even more insights from Admiral McRaven's incredible journey. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our deep dive into Admiral McRaven's Make Your Bed.
You know, one of the most vivid images from the book is that of the SEAL trainees covered in mud during Hell Week.
Oh, yeah, the mud flats.
Yeah.
Cold, wet, exhausted, and just coated in like thick, clinging mud.
It sounds absolutely miserable.
What kind of life lesson could possibly come from an experience like that?
Well, McRaven says the mudflats weren't just about physical endurance. They
Yeah.
were designed to test mental toughness. That will to keep going when every part of you is screaming to quit.
And a lot of trainees did quit at that point.
It makes sense, though. When you're that cold, that tired, and covered in mud, it's hard to think straight.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to see the point of it all.
Exactly. The mud flats were a crucible,
Good.
designed to filter out those who weren't truly committed,
Right.
those who weren't willing to push their limits.
Mm-hmm.
But McRaven tells this incredible story
Okay.
about how, as morale was plummeting
Yeah.
and guys were about to give up,
Mm-hmm.
one of the instructors offered a tempting escape.
Right.
He told them, if just 5 guys quit,
What?
the rest could have some relief.
Oh, man. Warmth, food, rest, all the things they were craving.
Exactly.
I can only imagine how tempting that must have been.
Oh, yeah,
To just give in and let go of that struggle.
of course. But then something remarkable happened.
What happened?
One of the trainees started singing.
Singing in the middle of that freezing mud.
Yes. And his voice, though weak and raspy, was full of defiance.
Wow.
And as he sang, Other trainees joined in.
It's like one of those moments in a movie where the prisoners start singing to keep their spirits up.
It's exactly like that. And McRaven describes how with each threat from the instructor to stop singing, their voices grew louder.
Wow.
The class became more united and their resolve to resist quitting grew stronger.
They found strength in that unity and shared purpose.
Exactly. What a powerful example of how, even in the darkest moments,
Yeah.
we can find strength in each other, in our shared humanity,
Yeah.
and in the act of raising our voices together.
I love that. It's a reminder that we don't have to face challenges alone.
We don't.
We need each other to provide that support, to inspire us, and to remind us of our shared goals.
And McRaven takes this idea even further by connecting it to leadership.
Okay. Yeah.
He says that true leaders don't just bark orders.
Right.
They inspire others to take action. They find ways to motivate their team to achieve a shared goal, even when things look bleak.
It's about leading by example.
Leading by example, yes.
Showing that you're willing to put in the work and face the challenges alongside your team.
And McRaven acknowledges that leadership can be incredibly demanding.
Oh, yeah.
Especially during a crisis.
Right.
You know, the weight of responsibility, the pressure to make the right call, the awareness that lives are at stake, it can be overwhelming.
He draws a direct parallel between those Mudgate trainees finding their voice and those leading during wartime. Those tasked with making tough decisions and sending others into harm's way.
He emphasizes that leadership isn't about being fearless. It's about having the courage to act, even when you are afraid.
Because fear is a natural human response.
It is.
It's about learning to channel that fear into action, into doing what needs to be done.
I think that's an important message.
Yeah.
Especially for those who might not see themselves as leaders in the traditional sense.
Right.
You know, we all have moments where we can choose to step up and lead, even in small ways.
Absolutely. Leadership isn't limited to titles or positions of authority.
Right.
It's about taking responsibility, inspiring others, and making a positive impact.
It's about seizing those opportunities to make our voices heard.
Yes.
To stand up for what we believe in, and to empower others to find their own voices.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Make Your Bed,
Yeah.
it's worth circling back to that core message. Never give up.
Never give up.
It's a message that's woven throughout the entire book.
It is.
From the simple discipline of making your bed,
Right.
to the heroism on the battlefield, from the resilience of those who face profound loss, to the courage of those who confront injustice. It's a consistent thread.
McRaven's message reminds us that each of us has the potential for greatness.
We do.
But it requires effort, perseverance, and an unwavering commitment to those dreams that ignite our souls.
It's a call to action, encouraging us to embrace the struggle, to learn and grow from challenges, and to use our experiences, both triumphs and setbacks, to become the best versions of ourselves.
So as you go out into the world, remember the lessons of Admiral McRaven.
Make your bed.
Start each day with the task completed.
Find your tribe.
Support each other,
Remember that life isn't always fair.
but face the challenges head on.
Be courageous.
Lift up those around you.
And never ring the bell.
Make your bed, and then go make a difference.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you'll join us again for our next episode. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing forward.